Before we kick off, I just want to mention that this episode is the fourth in a series on the 5 most common ways that we unconsciously create friction in our relationship conflicts. Most men experience moments where something really small, something like dirty dishes, a grocery run, or a date that doesn't go quite as we planned, turns into a huge blow up. And we often don't get why it happened. And this series is to help you understand where you personally can make changes to avoid that happening in your relationship. If you're listening to these and you want to know more, you can find out about what's happening in you that's causing this. And I've put together a free 3-minute assessment to help you get underneath your very own, probably unconscious habits. And once you take that assessment, you're going to get real, actionable, and really simple practices to maintain your presence through conflict and avoid unconsciously making a small argument into something way bigger. Check this out. The link's in the show notes. So there's this really hilarious YouTube video that went viral in the early 2010s. The original version now has like 29 million views. I've seen all kinds of reposts of it and shares of it, and maybe you've seen it. It starts with a woman who's partially out of the frame, who's telling someone about this pressure building up in her. And she can feel it in her head, and she doesn't know if it'll ever stop, and she's so afraid. And the next shot shows her from a profile view, and you can see that there is a large nail sticking out of her forehead, like a nail you would hammer. And her boyfriend or her husband is sitting there and listening to her, and right when she stops talking, he says, "You do know there's a nail in your head, right?" And she indignantly replies that it's not about the nail. So many men loved this video when it came out, thought it was hilarious. The comments are mostly men expressing how seen they feel by this. But what I love about the video, beyond it just being funny, is that it so perfectly validates the way that so many men feel in relationships. And this is because we're mostly programmed to see problems and find solutions. We see fixes. We want to offer the fix. We want to make it simple, use our logic and our intelligence, and improve the lives of the people we love. It's rational, it's logical, and for most of us, it's a totally automatic way of approaching life. It's just what we do. And in most cases, in our lives, this works pretty darn well for us. But when we approach our relationships with this posture, this automatic response to find and identify the fix, for most couples, at some point, it makes your partner feel frustrated, upset, and deeply alone. And when that happens, it can be really confusing because you thought you were just trying to help. So today on the podcast, how you can move through the confusion of your partner getting angry with you for just trying to help. This may be the most common pattern that men identify with in a relationship. And honestly, once you can see it, I hope it helps you have the fastest and most effective shift from her being angry with you to her feeling supported by you in all the ways that you really want. This is a good one. Stay with me. This is Reclaiming the Gentle Man. I'm Dave Lashansky. So let's just set the scene really quick, as we've been doing for this series on disconnection patterns. What does fixing actually look like in practice? So imagine your wife or your girlfriend comes home from work and she's upset. One of her coworkers is asking her to take on some extra work, and it's feeling like more than she can handle. She's telling you how overwhelmed she's getting from all of this, and you're listening to her, but you're thinking in your head, has she even talked to the coworker about this? Has she talked to her boss about it? Right? The logical steps feel like they got skipped over, and you're like, boom, I can help her with this. I can fix this for her. You're excited that you see a solution. And right when she's done talking about how stressed she's feeling about it all, you ask her, have you tried telling him it's too much for you? And when you say this, you see that she goes cold. You feel it in your body. You know she's mad. Maybe she walks out of the room. Maybe she tells you you're not listening to her. But you know that the storm is about to roll through. You know she's about to disconnect from you, and you really don't understand why your simple question created such a strong response from her. Now, this is a pretty common illustration of what the fixing pattern looks like in practice. Maybe you get it a little bit after listening to the intro and you're starting to put together the pieces in your head, right? Don't try to fix it, which sounds like an easy fix, but that's not what I'm talking about today. Because the hard thing about the fixing pattern is that most men don't know we're doing it when we're doing it. And this is true of all 5 of the patterns in this series. Fixing causes problems not because it's a bad thing, but because it makes her feel disconnected from you and you don't know why. You don't see that you have sparked a disconnection. So what's happening under the surface when we're fixing things and it's just creating bigger and hotter conflicts? For most men that tend to resort to fixing, what's happening under the surface is that part of the appeal of the fix is how it negates the need for the emotion. Your rational mind is telling you that if the problem is gone, so is the emotion the problem caused. And if I can solve the problem, then I can skip the emotion. But to your partner, this just feels like you want to skip the emotion. You want to skip the piece that makes her feel connected to you. And we're going to circle back to that, but I want to dig a little deeper into why we want to skip the emotion. Because there's a lot of reasons why we men tend to want to skip them. We tend to process emotions differently than women. And more importantly, we have been programmed around emotions very differently. Because most men are taught to power through emotion. That emotion is the barrier separating you from where you want to go. That you can build strength and skills and success and achievement and value by ignoring or overpowering your emotions. And this is what grit is all about. It's the classic message of grit that men receive all the time, especially through boyhood, and it creates a really powerful aversion to emotions that ends up wreaking havoc on your relationship. And I go really into depth on this in episode 44, so definitely go back and check that out if this is speaking to something in you. But at the crux of this fixing problem, this need to avoid emotions, is something that I think most men subconsciously believe about emotions without ever really naming it. And it's this. Most of us believe that emotions are inconvenient, unproductive. And I want to be really honest here. Emotions are inconvenient. They are not about efficiency. Emotions are not logical. We can't really predict them or how they're going to show up for us, right? It often doesn't feel like they're going to help us solve problems, or at least it's not going to help us solve them quickly. Emotions make us stop in our tracks and pay attention to the things that we don't fully understand and can't really measure or see clearly enough to identify as real or not. And this is something that us as fixers really don't like. Because if we can't see it and we can't touch it, and we can't smell it, if we can't get some real hard data on it, it feels impossible to measure whether it's still there, how important it is, how much value to place on it, where it should live in our lives, and what its purpose really is. And as a result of this, most of us come to believe, and we really are programmed from boyhood to believe, that emotions are the enemy to progress, to success, to being our best. And Put simply, this is not how most women operate. Obviously, we all have our own unique relationships with our feelings, but seeing the value in emotions and emotionality is one of the most connecting forces that you can cultivate in your relationships as a man. And here's the thing that we all need to start to reckon with as a society. And that's the value of emotions. Emotions are valuable because they give us the opportunity to move energy into and through and out of our body. Emotions are the way we move energy. They contain wisdom for us about our world, about what we need to learn from, where we need to grow. And the beautiful teaching that most of us get from emotions that feels paradoxical and kind of antithetical to growth sometimes and progress, and it's really one of my absolute favorite lessons that emotions teach us, is this: that sometimes we need to just slow down and be human. But that's what growth looks like sometimes too. Stopping. Being present with yourself and in your body. That is sometimes the most productive, efficient, and effective thing to do. That sometimes just stopping and being with yourself is growth. Now, learning to sit with emotion and allow it to exist in you and acknowledge its presence in you, like literally being able to say how you feel about something authentically and actually vulnerably, those are skills that will unlock levels of self-awareness and trust and self-acceptance, and also intimacy and connection that just goes way deeper than physical touch. And it's so valuable for some of us who struggle to do that, to just start to endeavor, how can I sit with what's here for me? How can I really get underneath what's the emotion I'm feeling right now? And for some of you who identify with the fixing pattern, this is going to be the main work for you. Because for you, it's so important to start to consider how emotions have value in your life. What is the value? That even though they're inconvenient, how are they also necessary aspects of you being and feeling and knowing you are present in your life and in your body? Because this is really the foundation of how you are in a relationship. It will inevitably affect how safe and connected to you she feels. So for some of you, this is really the way in and the way out of this fixing pattern. But for others, maybe you're listening to this and thinking that you got this, you're cool with emotions, this is old news, right? You got range. But the problem is her emotions. Like, you feel like if she's given the opportunity, she will spend an entire day talking about her emotions and it won't get anywhere and you will be totally exhausted by it. And if this is you, man, I feel you. I have been there. I get it. You may very well be right, because there are a lot of people these days who spend a very long time spinning inside of an emotion, looping without ever finding a way out of it or through it, which is really just as harmful as being numb to an emotion, because it prevents us from accessing what the emotion is really built to give us: presence, wisdom, a way forward. And so if this is you, here's the pivot for you. If you're feeling like you're good with your own emotions, but hers, the size of them, the way she expresses them, that's what feels like the problem. I want you to notice in your body what happens when you watch her start to spiral into an emotional loop. Just watch yourself start to tense up and project out what the next hour, 2 hours, maybe even the whole day is going to look like if you don't do something. And notice what it's like to feel like you need to do something to get her out of that and to get you out of it too. This is where you get to do some reconciliation inside. Even if you feel like it's her who's the problem, when it comes to emotions, but she gets mad at you for offering solutions and trying to fix it. Because your neutral stance, your embodiment and your poise and your presence and your care and your ability to listen and allow whatever's coming through in her to actually come through can create huge shifts. If you can control that feeling of needing to guide her out of it, to save yourself, to save her. Because here's what's happening when someone stays stuck in a loop of emotion for a long period of time. It is way more often than not because there's something at the heart of the emotion that feels too raw or too bad or too wrong to actually feel and access. So we stay stuck on the surface of it. We never actually break through. There's this pesky root to whatever's creating the prolonged emotion, and it feels really risky and really hard and really dangerous to pull it out. And fixing the problem, right? Showing her the map out of the problem is really just affirming for her that you can't hold that part of her either. So if you can learn what helps her feel really safely and powerfully supported and seen and brave, you will show her that it's okay to dig out that deeper root that's keeping the loop from ending. That thing that's keeping her spinning on the problem. And this is why fixing can often become such a powerful pattern to get underneath. Because I think many men these days actually consider themselves relatively emotionally attuned. And the magic here is recognizing what it actually takes to fully feel through something. Because attunement to your partner's emotions and to your own body, to your own feelings, right? Being able to wield your attention and your agency to stay rooted through the storm, to allow things to move in and through and around and over you without being swayed by it, requires a level of trust that will take you to the edge of what you think you can handle. It's like looking at the prospect of another afternoon spent with your partner, just complaining about something you think she's overly upset about. And instead of trying to steer her out of that, giving her your whole attention and presence anyway. Because the more we can learn to move into that kind of loving posture, that patient and caring way of really loving her, the faster and more efficient the emotion at the root will come through and end the loop. It feels like a total head trip how the way through for those of us who are most afraid of losing our time to emotions is actually just to give them more time and space. And this is the way for us fixers. If you think you're doing it and it's not working, right? If you think you're being slow and being embodied and really allowing it to come through, right? Instead of jumping to fix the problem again, all you need to do is slow down. Give yourself a moment to check in with your body, to be with what's here, and whether it's in you or for her, just slow down, make space, breathe deeply, and listen. And see what shifts when you do. If you're enjoying these episodes and want to know what primary or secondary patterns you fall into, you can go to the link in the show notes to take the 3-minute assessment and learn some of those really important and really powerful skills for free. If you're enjoying this podcast, please write me. Tell me what you're getting out of it. I love hearing from you. Thank you again for listening to this episode. Wherever this finds you, I am wishing you a beautiful day or night. I'll be back in a week.